Today we have a great privilege. They're one of the ministries that we support, and one of the ministries that are very prominent in our area. Wilkes Pregnancy Care Center is here to let us know a little bit of what's going on. And Scott Wooten is, just got to meet him. I've talked to him 2 or 3 times, but this is the first time we've got to meet face to face. I missed out on a breakfast because of, I can't remember why, but I missed out on a breakfast that they were giving. But I invite Scott to come forward, and I'm going to let him just share with us what all is going on there.
Morning, church.
Morning.
Have you ever heard the old saying, a day late, a dollar short? Well, I'm always a dollar short, but after listening to you guys talk about this meal yesterday and this banana pudding, I'm a day late too. That banana pudding's making me hungry. I had a video, I had a message to give to you. Now I might just have to do the video and go home. Anyway, it's great to be here with you this morning. Can you hear me okay? Okay. And I understand that I share a couple in common with you guys, Jacob and Angela Osborne. They're good friends of ours. I actually play on the praise team at Celebration Churches right down the road here with Jacob and Angela. And a little tidbit for you, my brother, many years ago, used to sing on what was called the Impact Team with Angela's dad, Keith. And they used to sing, they used to go all over the southern and southeastern United States and sing, so it's a small world. I used to, before COVID got here, Boone, their youngest son, was a little fella, and I used to be in the nursery at the church as well, and I used to babysit Boone. And Boone was kind of shy, so Boone was my buddy. He would come in and he'd come straight to me, so I'd have to sit the whole time holding Boone, which you know I hated that. They didn't smoke. But anyway, they're good folks. We love them, and I know you guys do too. I want to talk to you. The reason I'm here is I want to talk to you this morning about a ministry that is near and dear to my heart, the Wooten Care Center, and it is that. It is a ministry, and it's a ministry that needs to be heard in this county. And I just want to tell you before we share a little video, just a little bit about how I got involved with them. In their early existence, when they were over on Brushy Mountain Road, it's kind of a joke that my wife and I share with each other and others, but my wife came home one day, and this was back in the 90s, so it's almost 30 years ago, and she has a car loaded of baby supplies. Back seat, front seat, trunk, this car's full of baby supplies. She comes here, come out here, I want to show you something. So I walk out there, and when I see all that stuff, what do you think is going through my mind? Are you pregnant? And based on how much you have here, how many are you gonna have? Anyway, I like to just tell a little story whenever I go and talk with churches. But since then, we have always been involved in some capacity with the pregnancy center, whether it means taking supplies to them, donating money, or going to helping on projects. I don't know if you guys remember the Love Week that they used to have every year in Wilkes County. We would always look and see first what Wilkes Pregnancy Care Center is doing, and if they were involved, then that's where we would volunteer. And then several years, about 7 years ago, when they bought the doctor's office on top of the hill right across from the post office in North Wilkesboro, we were heavily involved in that. In fact, we did most of the painting on the inside of the center. And by the way, who was the gentleman just retired? I was hearing that story a minute ago, and I'm thinking you better think about it before you be glad you retired, because I've been more busy since I retired 2 years ago than I ever thought about being while I was on the job. Because after we painted the pregnancy center, people wanted us to start coming and painting the insides of their houses, my wife and I. So I told my wife just a little while back, I'm gonna go back to my old job so I can rest with them. It's wearing me out. But anyway, God is good, and He takes care of us. And as a result of working, getting the building ready, the director at the time, Susan Sturgill, asked my wife and I if one of us would consider being on the board. And I thought my wife was the obvious choice, but she surprised me, said, no, I don't want to be on the board. I don't want to sit behind a table making decisions. I want to be out doing it. So I accepted the call to be on the board. I've been on it 6 years. My 6 years, you can be on it for 2 terms, and my 6 years is just about to wind down next month. But I'm still going to be able to go out to churches and speak on their behalf. But one thing I've learned, how many of you know a lot about the center, or just know we exist? You know, I don't know about you guys, but when we started working with it, I just knew it was there. I just knew it was a ministry that tries to help to save unborn babies from abortion. And that was enough for me to be a part of it. But as being on the board and hearing so much of what happens, I have learned just so much. And God spoke to my heart one day and said, this is what you need to do. You need to be out in the community, spreading this ministry. You need to be sharing this because, as I said, we are a ministry. As much as trying to save physical unborn babies from going to the slaughter, we also are trying to, whenever we can, save souls as well. So it is, everything we do is biblically based. So it is a ministry that I'm trying to get out, that the Lord has laid on my heart to get out and tell this community about us. So, but before I go any farther, I don't know what time you guys get out. We've got about an 8-minute video, and I've got about a 30-minute presentation. If that's too long, I'll try to shorten it. But anyway, before we get started, I want to show you this video where you're seeing a lot of our staff and a lot of our clients and some of their testimonies.
Brooks Pregnancy Care Center was born out of a love for life. It is a gift of God, a treasure created in His image, worthy of respect from conception to death.
As first-time parents, we're just nervous and not sure what would be happening in the next months.
When we first found out about the baby, we started Googling everything, and we don't know what's accurate and what's not.
They have answers to questions maybe you didn't even know you had.
It's not just a crisis pregnancy center, but it's for families, for moms, for dads, the education that we provide students. There's just so much here that people are unaware of.
A lot of people in our community don't know what we offer. We can help fathers, we can help single moms, we can help married couples.
I actually come here originally to take a pregnancy test to confirm pregnancy and was very pregnant. I think I was 7 weeks at the time that I had come and took the test. So we come back 2 weeks later and we done our 9-week ultrasound. See this little baby here? I realized how much I care about this baby so much. I wish more people knew that this is a resource that they have for things like that. Clothes, baby furniture, my newborn car seat, things that I didn't have, and especially giving birth early, I was able to come and get what I was lacking quickly. I met some of the most amazing women here. I was able to join the Embrace Grace group.
Embrace Grace is a ministry to single pregnant moms in our community. We do that in partnership with Wooten Pregnancy Care Center. We meet for anywhere from 9 to 12 weeks on a weekly basis. And then at the end of that, we are blessed to be able to offer a baby shower, which is so much fun. Since March of 2022, we've had the blessing and honor to walk alongside 23 moms.
So many things are just so expensive and add up very quickly. When I was pregnant with him, they have the maternity clothes that they offer too. That was wonderful because I had such a hard time finding clothes that fit me.
I don't know anybody in this town, so I came to find some help. The videos helped me a lot because I don't know a lot of English and they help prepare me. There's many things in the baby store. I've gotten a crib, diaper, stroller, and a baby seat. There are a lot of things in the baby store. They have helped me tremendously. Thank you.
I found out I was a father when she was 7 months pregnant. Wasn't prepared to be a father. Didn't have anything lined up. Didn't have no job.
The pregnancy center, they want to minister to the family as a whole. The men that come in, I try to encourage them and to be supportive of the job that they're doing. We talk about leadership, we talk about challenging our children and how important a father is. One of the things we do discuss and go over in those videos is the statistics that are out there about when a father is engaged in a child's life, how much more successful that child becomes.
All of us should be working toward God's design for the family. It's the basic building block of any healthy community. The last verse of the Old Testament says it's all about the fathers. Turn the hearts of the children to the fathers and the fathers to the children. The further we stray from God's design for the family, the more pain and havoc it wreaks in people's lives.
My wife Sarah and I go into the different middle schools and teach the Choosing the Best education. It's a program designed to help kids make better choices, not just in life, but in relationships, but also with sex and with all sorts of other areas of life to kind of help them to avoid some of the main pitfalls and mistakes that a lot of kids fall into.
Kids are going to learn about it from somewhere, and we'd just rather that they learn about it from a trusted and safe and responsible source that has their best interest at heart. Because peers and the internet, which are typically sources where kids are going to learn that information from, do not have their best interest at heart. They're not always spreading accurate information. And so we want to also make sure that kids have a solid foundation of what is true so that they can base their opinions and also the choices that they're going to make off of what's true.
I've had interactions with parents that just approach me in town or wherever and just thank us for what we're doing for the kids.
Life is sacred. God tells us to choose life. God's word tells us to speak up for the speechless, being led away to death. That's Proverbs 31. Also in Proverbs, it tells us to rescue those being led toward the slaughter. And is there a better example of that going on in our country than abortion today?
Statistics tell us that approximately 70 women in Wilkes County go outside of Wilkes County to have an abortion annually. We work with about, on average, 15 women a year who are vulnerable to that. And many of them, because of the services we offer, because of our limited ultrasound, very often they are choosing life. The heart behind Wilkes Pregnancy Care Center is a love of life. We know that God loves life. He created us in His image. We are a treasure to Him.
When you invest in the Wilkes Pregnancy Center, you're investing in kingdom work, and that's eternal investment.
I've had women that have come back 10 years later and said, you will never know the impact that this ministry had on my life. You think there's nothing that I can do, you know, like the world's just going to be this way and there's nothing I can do about it. There is something that you can do. Not one of us can do it by ourselves, but working together, we can accomplish so much more.
Thank you for what you're doing. Shows someone cares, someone's thinking of someone else.
I can't think of a better ministry that's really impacting the community than Wilkes Pregnancy Care Center.
They're not just about programs, they're about people. They care and they want to set people up with tools that they need to succeed in life.
This space on top of a hill, we really truly do see it as a desire to be a beacon, to be a light on the hill in our community.
We want to see so much here at Wilkes Pregnancy Care Center. You'd be crazy not to get involved and see all that He is doing and be able to have a front row seat to what the Lord has planned.
Let me get it started getting on that page first, I thought.
Okay, all right.
There we go.
Okay. Well, I'm a little too far, they didn't understand the work. Okay. Wilkes Pregnancy Care Center is an organization, it's a nonprofit, non-political, non-denominational organization that is committed to providing care, compassion, information, and support to anyone who's facing a pregnancy, male or female. Our mission is to empower women and men with tools necessary to make life-affirming decisions concerning pregnancy, parenting, and sexual health. We want them to make wise decisions during their pregnancy, but not just during their pregnancies, but after the pregnancy, as they raise the child, as they raise a family. We want to engage, but to be able to teach them how to do that, we have to engage with them. And we want to equip them. Especially with our students, we're out in our schools and we are teaching an abstinence-based program called Choosing the Best, and I will tell you more about that a little later. But we want to empower them to make the right choices. It is okay for our students to say no. See next slide. We believe that life began at conception. We believe that every human being has a God-given right to life, whether they're born or unborn. And we're thankful that we have a president that believed in that over 40 years ago when Ronald Reagan designated January the 27th, as of 1984, as National Sanctity of Human Life Day. And now every year in January, this year it was January 19th, we have a Sunday that's set aside for National Sanctity of Human Life Sunday. During that time, President Reagan told us to guard with care the lives and the freedoms of even the weakest of our fellow human beings. And which goes along with Proverbs 31:8, where it says, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Well, who in our society is any weaker than our unborn, or unable to speak for themselves than the unborn? I like this picture here that we see because you see it on the notes right here in the corner, this little footprint on the inside pushing. So, don't tell me that life doesn't start until they're born. And we have a great privilege. In Genesis 21:27, he says, so God created men in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created him. What other being or object in the universe has such a distinction as to being created in God's image? We are a treasure. We are treasured by God. And that is a pleasure, that is a treasure that we can't begin to comprehend. It says in John, as I said, we believe that life begins at conception. We have some verses here in Psalms 139, but I want to read just a little more here out of the Bible. It says, for you, in 13 says, for you formed my inward parts. You covered me in my mother's womb. You formed those veins, you formed those arteries and those bones. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Not on the screen here, but we jump down to verse 15. It says, and skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. The lowest parts of the earth is just a metaphor for the mother's womb. It says, your eyes saw my substance, in verse 16, yet being unformed. This is language that we use, unsubstance and unformed is a language that we used back in those days to describe clay that was not yet formed into a pot. But in this particular verse here, it's applied to the fetus of a human life. So we are written in secret. And every hair on our head is counted. The same God that knows how many stars in the skies or how many grains of sand are on the seashore knows how many hairs we have. We're valued above rubies. We are a life that's known by God. We are a treasure. Unfortunately, a lot of the world, a lot of our population doesn't agree with us. You see this statistic here, 1 out of 4 women will choose an abortion by the age of 45. To kind of put that in perspective, I did a little search and found the latest census of the United States, 330 million people. And I just assumed that half were men, half were women. So that would be 165 of each. If you take that figure and then look at 25% of 165 million, that means over 41 million abortions would take place based on the population of the United States today. To put that in perspective, I don't know if any of you watch sports. I like to watch football, and you look at these big stadiums. They build these stadiums now today that hold 100,000 people. And you see that camera look down on the audience and just see that mass of humanity thinking there's one person in every seat that's filled that stadium. Well, change that for a minute and think about putting one baby in every seat of that stadium. You would have to empty out and fill up that stadium 420 times almost to equal the 42 million that we're talking about here. Wow. Our world, our society is sick. And the thing of it is, it's even more scary, is that nearly 4 in 10 of those women were attending church when they decided to have an abortion. We like to think that it's not here, it's not where we're at, it's not in church, it's a different sect of people, it's out there somewhere. No, it's happening in our churches too. So if you think that you take those 42 million, that's almost 16 million that occur from people that are sitting in our churches today. We normally see, as Carrie said on the video a while ago, we normally see about 15 women come into us each year that are abortion minded. Now last year we had, I think it was 18. We generally see 15 on average. Last year though we saw 18. Out of those 18, there were 8 that either they had a false positive pregnancy test at home, maybe they had a miscarriage, or they just never came back. So, but we had 10 that came to us out of those that were definitely pregnant when we gave them a pregnancy test. And by having but out of those 10, after we got to talk with them, after we got to show them an ultrasound, and an ultrasound is huge, we'll talk about that a little later, because that's when they see life, that's when they hear that heartbeat. 6 of those 10 chose life. I'm thankful for those 6, but I'd rather had 10. Those were the figures for 24. In 2023, it was 71% that chose life. And in years before that, you were 80 and 90. So what we're seeing is the trend of more choosing abortion and less choosing life. And the reason for a lot of that is the marketing or the media telling you that, you know, your body, your choice. We're turning phrases around to make abortion look favorable. You know, we're saying your body, your choice, reproductive health care, prenatal health care. So they're misusing phrases to make pregnancy look good. And another thing that's going on, unfortunately, is they turned abortion into a political issue. Well, folks, abortion is not political. Life is not political. It's biblical. We just saw that in a couple of verses. But it's about life, and it's about the value of life. But they've made it us against them, side against side, when that's not the case. It's biblical. And I'm so thankful for pastors like your pastor here that will let us come into churches and speak about this. And for pastors that will speak about it, have the conviction and the confidence to speak about it, and say that this issue, this thing, it grieves God. Sin grieves God. I'm thankful for pastors that have the conviction and the confidence to do so. Because so many won't.
Amen.
I am experiencing that and just trying to call churches and trying to come. So many won't return my calls or don't return my calls for whatever reason. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I got turned down for coming to a church. But, it's not a political issue. But so many pastors or so many people are afraid to tackle the issue. So thank you, Pastor, for allowing me to come in here this morning. But, as I said, our trend is going down from people choosing life more to people choosing abortion. I want to talk to you just a little bit about the abortion law. As of July 2023. In 2022, I know we've all heard of Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade was overturned in June of 2022. And you might think that abortions went down then. Well, in our state, they've actually gone up because a lot of people thought that when the law was overturned, that meant abortion is illegal. You can't do it anymore. Well, that's not the case. All it meant was now it's not on a federal level. Abortion is determined at each state level. Different states have different ideas about how long pregnancy should be able to go, and that's considered okay for an abortion. In North Carolina, when that law was overturned, we were at a 20-week, meaning you could do abortions in the state of North Carolina through week 20. Other states around us, they were less, like the heartbeat bill of 6 weeks or 12 weeks. So that made North Carolina a destination state for people to come and have abortions. And when that happened, our abortion rates went up very quickly, like 37%. Well, luckily we had some people in the North Carolina Values team down in Raleigh that went to fight for us. They were trying to get it down, well, they were trying to get it eliminated, or at least down to the heartbeat bill. They weren't able to do either of those, but they did get it down to 12 weeks. So that's where we sit now. We are abortion is banned after 12 weeks. But even with that, abortion rates are rising on the rise in this country from 11% from 2020 to 2023. And chemical abortions have rose from 53% in 2020 to 63% in 2023. Chemical abortion is taking a pill. Going home, taking a pill, taking 2 pills, 2 round of pills. And it used to be required to go see a doctor. You were in the state of North Carolina, I think you were at one time required to have 3 visits to a physician, and a physician would provide the pill for you there. That's not the case anymore. Now you can just through mail order, get pills. And they can take the pill at home, and it works in 2 stages. One, the first pill deprives the fetus of the nutrients that it needs to develop. And when that happens, the fetus detaches itself from the uterus. Then they take the second pill, which actually expels the baby from the mother. And they tout this as being, oh, it's just safe, it's nothing to it, it's, you know, just go home and do it. Makes you think of the old Nike commercial, tennis shoes, where you just do it. Well, that's kind of how they tout this, but it's not simple, it's not easy. First of all, these pills come from Lord knows where, even out of the country. In the state of North Carolina, it's illegal to mail order abortion pills, but there's no way to police it. So what's happening is these women are getting the pill, they're going home and taking these pills, and it's anything but simple. The FDA says that, the FDA said that when the abortion pill came out, that there was a 0.5% that it would cause any serious side effects. Well, we're finding out through statistics that that's not true. It's actually about 10% of women are having serious side effects from these pills. Severe hemorrhaging, clotting, pain, cramping. And so that's about 20% higher, 20 times higher than what the FDA said it would be. And that same FDA that takes years and years and years to approve a medication took 4 years to approve the abortion pill. We have a story of one woman who we couldn't talk her out of taking the pill or having an abortion, so she went to the pill route. Well, it didn't work all the way, and the baby was not aborted. And she became septic, and it got into her bloodstream. And you know what can happen when septic gets into your bloodstream. You can have serious side effects. It can cause strokes or serious issues with your liver, with your organs and your tissues, and even to the point of death sometimes. She had a pretty rough time. So that's just one of your examples. I could tell you more, but we don't have time for all that. But we also have something that has come in as we have an APR, an abortion pill reversal. It's a pill that if you've taken the first pill, if you've taken the first abortion pill, I don't know what the time period is. Some of the center can tell you this, but if you take this reversal pill, it can actually reverse the effects of the first abortion pill that you take. But the same crowd that's fighting to push the abortion pill is fighting against the abortion reversal pill. So those are some of the things that we're fighting against. And since our legislation has changed, since we got a new governor last year, we've had legislation where they are putting undue, unnecessary pressure on our pregnancy centers. Some things are being published that aren't true about our pregnancy centers, about the way we conduct our business, about our disclosing information to the patients or our clients before we work with them, and that's just not true. And in fact, in our meeting last month, our board meeting in April, went in and our whole staff was just discouraged because of what's coming down from our legislation now. So I want you to be in prayer for them. Pray for encouragement for them, because I'm afraid it's only going to get worse. So anyway, at the bottom, this sentence at the bottom says, we do not perform nor do we refer for abortion services in any capacity. That's there because for whatever reason we had about 2 or 3 years ago, we had some churches that were saying that we perform abortions, that we refer for abortions. And that's not true. That's not true at all. And the only thing that we can figure out the reason they said that is because we can't make the choices for women. We can't, you know, we'd love to be able to, but we can't make the choices for them. If they choose an abortion, we don't just kick them out the door and say, we're done with you. We can't. We do shift gears though, and we continue to work with them. We will continue to work with them. But an abortion, in Planned Parenthood, it's a surgical procedure, just like any other procedure. And just like any other surgical procedure you have, we educate them on their choices, on their options, on the possible consequences. Because if you were going into the hospital for an operation, that's exactly what they would do for you on the operation that you're getting ready to have. We do the same for them. We let them know what their choices are and what they can face. But in no way do we refer for or perform abortions. So if you ever hear that said, please correct me. Talking about abortions, and we were talking about gestation periods a while ago, we said North Carolina's at 12 weeks. You see several other states here, if you remember your state abbreviations from school, you see the 12 states that have a total abortion ban here, and then come on down, you see 10 states that are before 18 weeks gestation. You see in the middle, North Carolina in the middle there. I think that's with Nebraska for 12 weeks. And then other states have some bans and some went after 8 weeks. But I don't know if you remember last year before elections, when the media was saying that there's no such thing anymore as late term, full term abortions. Well, that was a lie. 9 states plus the District of Columbia do not restrict abortion based on the gestational duration. That means you can walk into an operating room and you can either abort your baby or you can deliver your baby up to the point before this point. That's how sick our country is. And on another note, during the election last year also, there were 10 states that had it on their ballots to be able to enshrine, is that the word I'm going to use, enshrine into their state constitution the right to have an abortion. 6 of those states passed. We have a lot of services. I'm not going to go through them all right here right now. Pregnancy test, STI testing, ultrasounds. I want to stop a minute on ultrasounds. Ultrasounds are big. A lot of times when somebody is determined to have an abortion or they're abortion vulnerable, we can show them the pictures from their ultrasound, and of course it's all with permission. Everything we do is with permission. When we show them that ultrasound, they see that life, they see that baby move, they hear that heartbeat, they often choose life. Those 6 out of 10 that we talked about a while ago. But because we have an ultrasound, we have a nurse that does ultrasounds, we also have a doctor that reviews the ultrasounds, and because of that, we are a medical facility. So as a result, it's said we can do ultrasounds, we do STI and STD testing, we do pregnancy tests. We do limited ultrasounds, meaning we check for the baby is in the right place, like in the uterus, we check for the heartbeat. We can even tell how far along in the pregnancy the mom is. The things that we don't do with limited ultrasounds is that we don't check for heart defects or anything like that. So, but because of you guys, because of people like you that in support of what we do and support us, we can have an ultrasound on site and do those tests on site. We want to be able to work with clients, we have to be able to reach them. And we've got to reach them where they're at. And in this day and time, where are most people? Not just kids, but where do we spend a lot of our time? Right here. As you saw that she said on that video a while ago that we average about 70 women that leave Wilkes County to go to other markets such as Raleigh, Charlotte, Winston-Salem, Greensboro to have an abortion, because we don't have an abortion clinic here in Wilkes County, and we're blessed that we don't. But we're still missing 70. We saw in 22, 77 happen from people in Wilkes County. So we're doing some things that are marketed. We're trying to change the way our search engines work and things of that nature, so that when somebody is out on the internet or on their phone looking for words like abortion, pregnancy, things of that nature, Wilkes Pregnancy Care Center will pop to the top. And that's where they're coming. Because we have online scheduling, we even have a 24/7 nurse chat. We have had a 15-year-old that has found out at 3 o'clock in the morning she was pregnant. And she called and she gets in touch with our 24/7 nurse, and she schedules online and she shows up the next morning. We've had another woman who was in her 20s, she was determined to abort. And she talked to our nurse. She came in and talked with us, and she decided to keep her baby. In fact, she's one of the girls in the video that I'll show you in a minute that chose to keep her baby. And so we're thankful for that. So our 24/7 nurse chat is working online scheduling. I'm gonna focus in a minute on another slide on our Choosing the Best Applicants program. But we want to reach them all. We want to reach our father. We have an awesome fatherhood program. It's not just for the women; it's for the dads too. That we'll focus on cross culture. We're working. We are working. We're trying to increase our presence in the Hispanic and African American community, and of course in the churches too. And this is our nurse, Christy, on the left. She does the ultrasounds. She and our other nurse, Monique, are awesome at going out to our schools and talking with our students, talking to them about relationships, talking to them about their sexual experiences, and trying to teach them, these are your consequences of the choices you make. We're talking about STI and STDs and the facts behind all that. I don't know, but this is the lady who had the little boy that was sitting on her lap. This is her picture of her. She's the one that was told her nurse in the morning that she was going to abort, but she changed her mind, and there's her little boy now. Choose the Best. We have a program that's called Choosing the Best. It's an SRA program, sexual risk avoidance, that we go out and teach in our middle school and high school. We've been in the 7th and 9th grades where our staff is going out and teaching the program ourselves. But now we have been approved to provide materials to our health teachers in the 6th and 8th grades so that they can teach it to their students. So we are bridging the gap between 6th and 9th grades teaching abstinence programs. And this is really great. We're in all our high schools, we're in all our early college graduate schools, Christian schools. And it took us a while to get into all of our middle schools. In fact, North and East were the last two. East was the last one actually to allow us to come in and teach the 7th and 9th grades. And they liked it so much that they were the first ones to ask us to come back and let's go with the 6th and 8th grades. So we are on schedule, hopefully, to be in all our middle schools for the 6th and 8th grades by fall of this year. And to take it a step further, if you watch the news and you notice the sexually oriented teachings are going on even in grades lower than this, like our 5th grades, 10-year-olds. We are trying to develop an in-house program where we even go in and teach our 5th graders. That's what this bottom sentence is about. We want to prevent this from, in Wilkes County, we're pretty sheltered from this kind of stuff. But if God tarries, if evil continues to get worse, it's going to be trying to knock on our doors too. So we're trying to head it off. We're trying to be proactive and get a program developed so we can go in and even work with our 5th graders. So y'all be in prayer for that. Not everything is geared toward our clients. We have programs for the community. We have what we call an equipped squire group classes. Anybody can take them. It doesn't have to be just our clients. Anybody in the community can take them. We say we have a monthly breastfeeding workshop, but we have classes every month for different things. I mean, not everything is geared toward pregnancy or things of that nature. I mean, we have practical classes. You see this one that we just had, that we had in April. budgeting classes. We are teamed up, I think it's with Truist Bank, who comes in and teaches budgeting. We have a class for home ownership for young, for anybody who's not new at owning a home. Of course, we see these childbirth education, car seat safety, but as I said, we've got to see them. We've got to get out there with them to reach them. So this is open to anyone in your church, anyone in your community that you know that needs something like this. Please send them our way. The mom over here on the left, she is one of our Hispanic clients. This couple here, this guy here, his name's Tommy, in the picture on the right. Tommy, pregnancy center was just for, the women. He didn't seem need to come in until his wife got pregnant. Well, Tommy and his wife both were in abusive relationships growing up. And Tommy didn't know how to be a dad. He didn't have a good father figure. So Tommy spoke at our banquet a couple of years ago, and he used the analogy of a tool belt. I want to come in and get the tools that I need to be a good father, to be to my son that I didn't have when I was growing up. And he did that through our fatherhood program. We have an excellent fatherhood program. It's led for men, it's led by men. And it's to see some of the classes over here on the right, on the left, role model, respect for mothers. And one of the most important things a man can do for his kids is to love their mother. So we're teaching their dads about dad difference, being a leader, discipline guidelines, and so forth. You see the list. But we live in a society today that is trying to degrade the presence or the role of a father. But you saw Pastor Collins in the video said that kids that have a dad in their lives, a mother and a dad in their lives, are likely, or statistics show that they are much more successful than the kids that don't. But that's God's design for a family to have a mom and dad. And we see where Billy Graham said a good father is one of the most unsung, unpraised, unnoticed, and yet one of the most valuable assets in our society. Do you remember in the video, the big guy, just a little baby girl? He said he didn't know that his girlfriend was pregnant until she was 7 months pregnant. Well, I don't know what happened, but he ended up having total custody of that little baby girl. And this big guy, this big buster guy walks into the pregnancy center one day and he's practically in tears because he is all of a sudden becomes the sole provider for this child. He didn't have a job. He didn't know what to do. And he was afraid that we wouldn't let him in because of the guy. He said, I was prepared to come in here and tell you I was a woman, if that's what it took to get me in. Of course, it wasn't like that. We invited him in. We provided him with the supplies that he needed right then and there. But he also got started in what we call an Earn While You Learn program, which is a program where you come in and you watch videos, you take classes, and you earn points for doing so. And it's kind of like you go to a restaurant. You can earn rewards at a store for buying stuff, and then maybe you get so much money off of a meal or so forth. Works the same way. They earn points while they study or while they watch videos, and then they can go into our baby store and get the practical things that they need for their child. And we'll see the baby store here in a minute. But that was his story. Now he comes in when his baby has a doctor's visit, and he'll come in and he'll come in the heater bottle and microwave and pass her around, and he'll be looking, he'll be doing something and say, oh, I learned this in your class. I learned how to do this in your class. So he has turned out to be a great dad. A great dad. So those are stories I'd love to be able to share with you guys. Here's a couple of our dads that are also in our programs with their babies. We've seen a lot of growth the last few years. From 2021 to 2024, we've gone to 220 distinct clients to 327 distinct clients. I don't mean total business, I mean individuals. Of course, you see our total business have almost doubled in those 4 years. But look at this number down here at the bottom of our dads. We've gone from 24 distinct dads in 2021 to 67 in 2024. That's almost triple. Our dads are really important to us. And we don't always serve who you think we serve. Our clients are not necessarily somebody seeking for an abortion. Our clients are grandparents, and of course teenagers, single moms, You have couples, maybe they don't know it, maybe it's their first baby, maybe they've never been pregnant before, they have never been through the birthing process, and they just want information. Those are saying, of course, dads that are abortion vulnerable. See, her grandparents on the left over there, that's Tanny. That's Tanny and her granddaughter. The mom was dealing with Tammy. I don't know where her dad was. I don't know where her son was. But just one day out of the blue, the mom says, well, I'm going to go to the grocery store. But she never came back. So here's Tammy, who now is sole custody of her granddaughter. And while, but she came to us, she said, I've raised a son, but it's been 30 years. And I know things have changed. So Tammy did the same thing as Tommy did. She got our Earn While You Learn program and took the videos, earned her points, get things she needs at the baby store. And so that's just one way we serve grandparents. Here's a couple of moms, and here's our baby store. You got wipes, you got food, you got formula, you got diapers, you see we've got car seats, we've got high chairs, strollers, and those are from donations. In fact, I have materials on the table out there and on the back bench, and one of those is for baby store items. And here's a couple of moms doing a shopping trip. We see some of our testimonials. I don't know where I'd be without them right now. There's certainly a place you can let your guard down. We recognize sin for what sin is, but we can't be judgmental when they come in, because if we judge them, if they come in the door and we start judging them, in fact, the one pastor asked us, said, you do tell them that's murder, don't you? Well, yeah, I guess it is, but you can't say that. If you do that, then you're going to lose them. They'll never be back. We have to build a relationship with them, because if we don't do those things, if we say stuff like that and jump, they're not going to ever be back, and chances are they're going to have that abortion that they came in to have. They're not going to be back because we're not going to build a relationship with them, because we didn't have the time to spend to build a relationship and to be able to share the word of Jesus with them. So we kind of have to, we want to be compassionate and loving to them, just build a relationship with them. Some ways you can partner with us, of course, we have Christmas basket items. We gave out, last 2 years, we've given out on an average of 70 Christmas baskets to the moms and dads that we serve. We have student hygiene bags. We go into the schools and we provide hygiene bags for students, because maybe don't know what their situation is, but they don't have that kind of stuff. They can't afford that kind of stuff. We provide it for them. We have postpartum bags we provide to the moms. We have an Embrace Grace program, which is discipleship program through the church. And the way that works, you can be a sponsored church, or you can join a sponsored church, and you can adopt a mom. And by doing so, you're providing spiritual encouragement for her. They meet, I think they meet weekly, and for 10 weeks, they work with her, provide her spiritual encouragement, spiritual guidance. And then at the end, if she does her part, there's things she has to do as well. She has to be accountable, but they provide her with a baby shower. So you could be a church that, you could provide a meal for one of their Embrace Grace meetings, provide the meal at the baby shower. We have volunteer projects, newsletters and things of that nature. And of course, financially, we are a nonprofit organization. We survive solely off of those donations and grants. But if you can't do any of those things, everybody can be a prayer. You can sign up to be a prayer partner. And you can scan this barcode and become a prayer partner. And what happens is, anytime someone comes in and they are determined to have an abortion, you'll be sent a text. We don't inundate you with text, but we will send you a text saying that a decision is being made. So that's if you can't do any other things, you can always be a prayer partner. And last of all, we want to partner with you. This is my last slide. I'm almost going just a little over. But anyway, we pray for our churches. We pray for our church community. We really do. We have a praying group at the Pregnancy Center. I've had the privilege since I retired of being able to go in a couple of mornings when they always have devotions every morning. in prayer before they start their day, 30 minutes before. This is a praying bunch. I remember being in there the first time, and I was thinking, whoa, you know, but they really are a praying bunch. But we can provide services for your church family. You know, it's not always a crisis. It's not always a crisis situation. You know, I mean, if we're just a crisis, then we're kind of in a limited position of what we're able to do. But we can provide pregnancy and parent education, like for that couple we were talking about that's never been through there. You may have the single mom sitting. You may have the single mom sitting in your congregation that she doesn't know what to do. She's lost. We are there for her. Counseling services, moms and dads and couples, abortion and abuse recovery services. You know, I said we continue to work with them when, if they decide to go have an abortion. Maybe it's somebody who's made this decision in the past to have an abortion. Now they're dealing with the guilt of it. They can't get past it. Maybe they've accepted Jesus, but maybe now the guilt of what they've done in the past is really haunting them. We work them. We help men and women in that situation. It's not always just a woman. I mean, you may get a man, a boyfriend or a husband that pushed your girlfriend or your wife to have an abortion for whatever reason. Maybe you're dealing with it. So as I said, this is for both men and women. And we all, everybody, you know, abortion is not the unforgivable sin. There is forgiveness. There can be peace. And we try to help them find that peace. We try to every opportunity we get. That's it. Everything we do is with permission. But we try every chance we get to share the gospel of Jesus Christ to them. And provide spiritual encouragement. Of course, we are outreach to the community. I showed you the Equip Square classes. But we're the beacon. We want to be that beacon up on top of the hill. And we want to be that light. We're in that physical building up on the hill, but we want to be that spiritual light out to the community. And we feel like the best way to be able to do that is first of all start with our churches. And hopefully our churches will be excited about it, and that work will get spread out to other ministries, or maybe someone in our churches. I know this other church needs to hear this, and they'll spread the word. Pastor, if you know anybody that in this community that needs to hear this word, any other churches, please let me know so I can contact them. But anyway, that's who we are. That's kind of, even though it took 35 minutes to tell you, it's a high level of what we do. But I hope I've shared something with you this morning that excites you, that maybe a light bulb comes on your head and oh wow. So, but I'll be at the back or the front, wherever you want me to be, and I'll be glad to answer questions afterwards. There are brochures on the back and on the back pew there. So feel free to approach me and talk with me after service. Pastor, I'll turn it back over to you.
I hope you all have your eyes been opened up to some of the things. Did you notice in your bulletin, I told Loretta, says, this is Scott Wooten, and he is with the crisis pregnancy. And I sure regret saying that in the bulletin because they're far more than that. So we need to be lifting them up in our prayers. And we will, Keith, if you'll lead us in a closing hymn, I will have a word of prayer, and then we will let y'all meet Scott at the back of the church afterwards. How about that?